I want to thank you for joining me in this, our 2021 Stewardship Appeal, Cultivating Community, here at Lutheran Church of the Redeemer. What a year it has been. Remember way back in January, our leadership had just rolled out an ambitious strategic plan that through the ministry of Lutheran Church of the Redeemer, the world would see Jesus. That plan had 5 areas of mission focus, and those 5 areas will guide us during our presentation at this time. But then COVID-19 hit, and you might assume that that slowed everything down. But as you will see, because of the creativity of our staff, the dedication of our leadership and our volunteers, and because of your generosity, Lutheran Church of the Redeemer never closed.
When we sacrifice for the sake of our neighbor, we clearly reflect the love of God. A large sacrifice we have all made recently is staying physically distant from one another to take care of one another. And yet, through the creativity of our musicians and worship leaders, utilizing the technical resources with which we are blessed, we have remained in community through our vibrant virtual worship.
I go to church every Sunday unless there's some extenuating circumstance. When this began, I had no illusions about it being short term, but I did not realize what isolation did to you. You've lost everything you were doing. And that opened my eyes. I had lost my life as I knew it. By then, we were getting so much Zoom from Redeemer and otherwise that it was easy, and I created a whole new calendar. We get an email every week, and it starts with Sunday, and it gives you all the links to click on for everything that's going to happen that week. It can't be easier. There was a need, and Redeemer came and rose to the occasion to provide all this for us. I mean, my gratitude is unending on that. I know I will hear or see or feel something that sets me on the right path for the upcoming week. And so to have this in any form, virtual does not bother me because I get what I need.
Not only have we continued to feed our neighbors through the Lutheran Community Food Ministry, we have more than doubled our impact on hunger and homelessness in Atlanta. In addition to worship, because of the creativity of our people, we were able to pivot to a virtual life of Sunday school, youth programs, and adult faith formation without missing a beat. Our Rejoicing Spirits community continues to grow online. Our preschool is reopened to support families returning to work. But the most impressive pivot was the expansion and development of the Lutheran Community Food Ministry during these past months. Since the pandemic began, we have served over 30,000 meals to our neighbors in need.
The Lutheran Community Food Ministry literally changed overnight when COVID began to sweep through Atlanta. We couldn't have 100, 200 people together. So our awesome staff, between closing one afternoon and opening the next morning, figured out how to serve to go. The food comes from a variety of sources, and actually it's our lowest cost because most of it is donated. There are some really tremendous groups in Atlanta, Second Helpings being one of them, that rescues food from places like grocery stores. So for example, Whole Foods provides most of our food. Once it's brought here, Steve Miles is currently our chef. Based on what comes in, he's super creative and he figures out what he's going to make out of it. And under his direction, the volunteers and our kitchen staff make it happen. We've also, though, expanded with helping our neighbors Lutheran Towers with meals. So that is now, almost 50 meals a day that we were not doing before. We reached out to Wellspring Living, which is a group that helps girls and women who have been trapped in the sex trafficking industry. We've reached over to Georgia Tech, and we're starting to reach further into some of the other Fulton County colleges to provide help for those students who are food insecure. And once the pandemic passes, we're going to figure out how to meld this traditional model of our churches, because they have been our support for 38 years, and then also how do we get more people in the community involved. We've learned through our partners with Whole Foods and the food bank that we can get produce and fruit and nutritious food. It's fundamentally, this is a ministry of dignity, and that everybody's entitled to eat good food.
Well, whoever makes that soup every day knows how to make good soup. I live in the senior citizen towers that you all have in the back there. There have been some weeks when I first fell that I came over every day because I was in pain. Because I haven't been able to do any, lifting pots and cooking, and so I come over here and get a breakfast. But I like the atmosphere over here. I like the fellowship, I like your ministry.
We have strengthened our ability to remain connected, support, and care for one another through our vineyard ministry. Cultivating a community takes care, intentionality, prayer, humility, and above all, love, even in the best of circumstances. Our community has been able to thrive during these challenging times. At the beginning of the pandemic, we welcomed 40 new members into our family at Redeemer. As we were forced to isolate, our retired pastors helped us reach out to our over 70 members. And because the health of our community is of greatest importance, we called Pastor Jenny McClellan as our associate pastor for congregational care, who, along with wellness coordinator Karen Medford, has launched our new vineyard ministry.
I was expecting to visit people in their homes. I started the day Atlanta shut down. So it was strange, and this has been a challenging time, but it's also been a time full of grace. The vineyard ministry was a dream before the pandemic, and the pandemic was the impetus to help us say, yes, this is important for this time. It's a way for people to know that they're not alone where they live, that they have neighbors who believe in Jesus, who share their same values, and who care about them. So right now, it's just working on setting that foundation for the group to build the relationships and the trust so that people will see Jesus through these vineyards. What helps the most is when the vineyard leaders reach out for people to respond. Your presence here makes a difference. Jesus is here in this isolation time, in this pandemic time, and that in our ministry together, we are that presence of Jesus for one another.
Lutheran Church of the Redeemer has always been a community resource for dealing with difficult issues from the perspective of faith. During this year of social unrest and racial tension, we have taken a strong stance on the side of justice and reconciliation. We know that God did not give us this vineyard just for our own enjoyment. We are called to use our blessings to be a blessing to others. Lutheran Church of the Redeemer has a rich history of action and advocacy throughout metropolitan Atlanta, the impact of which remains central to our identity today. Our work in racial reconciliation during the civil rights movement, our caring ministries during the HIV crisis, our advocacy on behalf of those trapped in sex trafficking, our continued work to feed the hungry and address the need for affordable housing. This summer, as our nation has been challenged to deal with the issues of systemic racism and injustice, under the leadership of Pastor Ron, we launched a new justice and inclusion ministry to lead us into accomplishing our vision of being the front porch of Midtown, a place where all are welcome and respected.
Well, I believe I've seen that front porch already. I was particularly attracted to Redeemer because of the community and engagement work. The diversity of the people engaged and the diversity of the challenging topics they were willing to take on and the programs they were willing to take on. With every single community engagement meeting, you saw an open mind willing to listen and hear about yet another opportunity to stand with God's people. That's a front porch already. That's literally saying, come, experience me. That's not standing inside the wall and saying, did you read my marquee? That's physical. We promised that we would not have one conversation. We would not have one thing and be done. We would continue the talk. We would continue with action. My hope for Redeemer would be that it would look at what it has done as a footstool and as a ladder to sustain this work around justice and restoration of relationships and breaking down barriers. I think this is Jesus' work.
While Redeemer is currently in a healthy financial position, we know that we face significant challenges as we face a new world. Please pray and consider growing in support of our mission.
Like I said earlier, Lutheran Church of the Redeemer never closed. Actually, because of your support and generosity, Lutheran Church of the Redeemer never even slowed down. We didn't even have enough time to go through all of our accomplishments, such as improvements to our facility, the launch of a brand new website, and a new church membership information system. I am pleased to report that our community, despite the challenges of this year, is truly thriving. Because of the Federal Payroll Protection Act, as well as grants that we have received in support of our food ministry, and most especially because of your generosity, we expect to finish this year with a healthy financial surplus. But we also know next year is going to be even bigger a challenge. We can't rely on future support from the federal government, and more of our families are directly experiencing the financial ramifications of the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope that as we bring our time here to a conclusion, you will take a few moments with your family to go through the materials that you received in your pledge packet, particularly our brochure, which highlights our achievements as well as our goals for this coming year. Then I hope together you will pray and consider your response. And finally, that you will return your pledge card by Commitment Sunday, October 18th. I am so confident that with God's blessing, with the creativity and the dedication of our staff, leaders, and volunteers, and most especially because of your faithful support, the entire world will continue to see Jesus through the ministries and the programs of Lutheran Church of the Redeemer.